They say I'm crude, arrogant, and ruthless. It's probably because I know what I want and I go for it. So excuse me for being unapologetic about pleasing myself, even if it's at the expense of someone else. My name is Dave, and I am unapologetically a bully. Before we continue with the story, do not forget to click on the subscription button in order to get notified at every new video posted. May God bless you. In case you don't know, a bully from my perspective is the most feared person in the school grounds. At 16, I was always basking in the admiration I got from girls when I walked the halls to my locker. The terror written on the faces of juniors and the hatred from most of my peers. The rest were just blurry images in my sight. I am invincible and nothing can stop me. Even the school authorities fear me. However, I have the common sense to handle my business with defaulters off the school premises. Though I am a terror to other students, I don't want anything tampering with my studies, not even me. That thing is still to be born, or so I thought. It was Friday afternoon when I came in contact with Columbus, who even names their child Columbus these days. Columbus has been my classmate from nursery school, who lives with his single mom. He happens to be a Christian. Though he doesn't say much to me, I always feel like he's those holier than thou people. I was fitted with my wingman when Columbus stopped by and asked to speak with me. Normally, I would have ignored him, but I thought again and decided to give him the benefit of the doubt. Columbus went all holy on me, asking if I could follow him to church. I wasn't surprised when he said what he said. I ignored him. I walked away from there. Later that night, my dreams were filled with Columbus. We were pals and walked about preaching the word. I jerked away from the nightmare. Damn Columbus for talking to me. Right there, I decided to make his life miserable. The following day at school, I was furious, and I always vent out on my victims. I waited when it was break and I fell on Samba, a new student in school. I started picking on him, especially as he sat with Columbus. I called them all kinds of awful words, and soon the school ground was filled with students watching the drama unfold before me. Unlike Columbus, Samba wasn't one to swallow nonsense from anyone. As I went at him, he retaliated and hit back. We broke into a fight, entertaining our onlookers. Columbus broke in and tried to pull us apart. My eyes were bloodshot, and I was beyond furious. With that same anger, I turned and pushed back at whoever was trying to separate us. Unfortunately, it was Columbus. He fell back and hit his head. Suddenly, everywhere went silent. No one spoke, and we watched out for any movement from Columbus, but there was none. It couldn't be. The medics came and carried him to the hospital. The following day, we got information that Columbus had suffered an internal bleeding in his head and died before he reached the hospital. Shortly after that, the cops arrived and I was taken away. I was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment, but I wasn't remorseful. They might as well have given me a lifetime sentence. I am an orphan and I have nothing to lose. After the judge's verdict, my hands were cuffed and I was carried away. I walked out of there unafraid and mentally preparing to face this stage of life. However, something happened at the door which gave me a pause. A lady came up to my face with tear-filled eyes and threatened me. "I will kill you," she said. I didn't want to bother about her threats, but the intensity with which she said it troubled me. I didn't have enough time to process her threat as I was pushed away towards what was to be my new habitat. My time in prison wasn't very unfavorable. Being a minor in prison, I was somewhat feared. With my ruggedness, I easily made friends with those who'd been there before me. Life was easier than I expected. If there was one thing I am grateful for, it is the time I had to process some of my thoughts. 15 years in prison meant that I had lost most of my youthful age. It is few months to my release. I began to make plans on how to be better. But for the life of me, I couldn't think of anything positive. My thoughts were cut short when I got a notification of a visitor. I went to the visitor's room only to see the lady who had threatened to kill me. She had aged a little over the years. I approached the visitor's seat with caution and sat. "Do I know you?" I asked. "You murdered my son." My mouth formed an O. "I get off in a few months. You can kill me when I get out." She fixed her gaze on me, as if trying to read my thoughts. "After all these years, you have no remorse?" It was a statement of fact. "Look, lady, killing your son was a mistake I am not proud of, but no amount of remorse will bring him back. I just wish I could do something to make it right." Gone was the 16-year-old boy who was locked up. The person looking at her now is a man, one who is ready to face his crime and correct his mistakes. Without saying another word, Columbus's mother stood up and left, just like that. I returned to my cell and tried to forget what had just happened. The days which followed were filled with surprise gifts from Dorothy. I learned her name. She sent gifts to me, and some days she visited. For someone who promised to kill me, this measure of kindness was a little too much. I was still trying to figure out what's up. Some months later, I became a free bird. I had served my time and I was ready to go. I bid farewell to the few inmates who were around. My papers were signed and I was led towards the door, separating me from the outside world. However, just like on the day of my sentence, I saw Dorothy walk up towards me. Only difference is, there was no guards around. "Hello, son," she said. I don't know what response to give her. "Do you have anywhere to stay?" I hesitated for a bit before talking. No. "Well, if it's no trouble, you can come live with me." Uh, are you sure?" "Totally. Here, right this way." I followed her to her house. For the first time in forever, I felt at home. Miss Dorothy was extremely hospitable. Matter of fact, she had even prepared a special meal for me. "I didn't know what your favorite meal is, so I just made something special. Columbus used to like it. I figured you would too." At that moment, I really regretted killing Columbus. But what could I do? "I'm sorry, Mrs. Dorothy. If there is anything I can do..." "That's okay. Eat first, then I'll show you where to sleep." That night I went to bed filled with so much guilt. I laid in Columbus's bed, but sleep evaded me. Over the next few days, Mrs. Dorothy took very good care of me. She introduced me to a few of her friends and created a network so I could easily get a job. One afternoon, I returned home with great news. I'd gotten a job. We danced and celebrated, praising God. At that point, I knew it was the perfect time to ask her the question which had been bugging my mind. "Miss Dorothy, at this point I should normally be the least person you would like to see around you, but yet, for all my miserable life, you are the only one who has showed me love. Why are you doing this?" She shrugged. "My Father who is in heaven taught me how to love. He loved us so much that he sent his only begotten Son to die for us on the cross so that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life." I paused for a bit and I knelt down. I started crying and I told her that I want to give my life to Christ. I want to follow him, and for real, I meant every single word. She held me and prayed with me. I felt forgiven and I was ready to start a brand new life. "I have one more question. So why did you threaten to kill me?" "It wasn't a threat. I just did. What? The person I threatened to kill was the wicked old you. He just died. The old has passed away and now you are a new creature. Tears couldn't stop flowing. I hugged her so hard and I said, "Thank you, Mom." It was the first time I ever called anyone Mom. Since then, I have become a fervent Christian and I focus on preaching to teens. I feel loved and I share the love of Christ daily. Truly, God works in supernatural ways.